This was the week where we learned a lesson, very important lesson, which is that you can't turn your back on Earth for a second because the terrestrial plebes fuck around and form a union. That's right. While Jeff Bezos was sending other richies into space, workers at an Amazon warehouse in Staten Island formed the first union at any Amazon facility in the entire country. Here was their reaction when they found out the vote was in their favor.
ALU! 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 ALU!
That's right. That's the Amazon Labor Union. And so this happened at the JFK 8 Fulfillment Center, where 8,000 people currently work. The vote was 2,654 to 2,131 with a 58% turnout, which is very, very good for union drives. I mean, over 50%. Here's what one of the lead organizers, Chris Smalls, said, speaking on the victory. And he had previously, by the way, we'll get into him, but he's been fired for organizing, and he was called not smart and inarticulate by an internal memo from Amazon CEO. So here's Chris Smalls.
To the first union in American history.
Yeah.
We got the juggler. We went for the juggler, and we went for the top dog because we want every other industry, every other business to know that things have changed. We going unionize. We're not going to quit our jobs anymore. And this is a prime example of what the power that people have when they come together. Our story, our reality is what we live in. The customers need to know that. And if they don't support that business, then they don't stand in solidarity with the workers and their customers that come from the same community. So that's just, I'm not going to call a boycott yet, but, I'm going to say is this, that stand in solidarity with the workers here, stand in solidarity with the workers in any community that has an Amazon facility because they affect your community. I know plenty of times Amazon set up a building and people in the community are upset because of the traffic they cause, because of the pollution they cause. There's a lot of different issues to talk about when it comes to Amazon, but I can tell you what, Amazon doesn't become Amazon without the people, and we make Amazon what it is.
We did it! Wait a minute. We got to thank Amazon because they made this all possible.
All right, there you have it. So surrounded by workers. Again, ALU is a little bit different. So before I get your reactions, I want to go into kind of like the details of who these leaders are, what this union was able to do. So that's Christian Smalls, and he and Derek Palmer led this initiative. Both of them worked at Staten Island Amazon Fulfillment Center. Palmer still works there. But Smalls was fired from the job in 2020 in March after he led a protest outside of the warehouse, asserting that Amazon was not doing enough to protect workers from COVID, including not having adequate social distancing. Ironically, as its reason for firing Smalls, Amazon said he violated social distancing rules. Like, it's amazing. You lead a protest against for safer conditions and they fire you for not keeping 6 feet. It's just that's such brilliant corporate Machiavellian moves. I love it. I mean, I hate it. It's awful.
I mean, they could have picked anything, so I feel like they kind of picked that on purpose.
Totally. They picked a random thing. They were
you could have picked insubordination. You know what I mean? You didn't have to make it that thing.
Exactly. Chris also said, we want to thank Jeff Bezos for going to space because while he was up there, we were signing people up, which is very funny. I don't know if Bezos himself went to space this week. He sent some other idiots to space. It doesn't matter. It's a great fucking line. But I do want to talk about, because this is a different approach than what we saw in Bessemer, Alabama, where the vote count, they just had another vote count. Another vote, and it is too close to call. There's some ballots in question, so TBD on that. But this was very different because it was an independent effort. So Smalls boasted that his effort would succeed, even though a union drive at Amazon warehouse in Bessemer failed last year because the Staten Island effort was led by current and former Amazon workers and included few outside organizers. Many employees, including Palmer, vigorously talked up unionizing inside break rooms, and during lunch, they also distributed literature in the workplace and wore pro-union t-shirts. Palmer and others showed a fearlessness that encouraged their coworkers to speak up and show their pro-union colors publicly. I am really interested in this because I do think not only is it kind of a little bit of a slap in the face to, I mean, it's a giant slap in the face to Jeff Bezos and Amazon and all the like, we don't need a union, but also not a slap in the face, but a little bit of a like, sort of some smelling salts to the labor movement to say, yo, this is an independent union that did some really incredible shit and flew under the radar and was able to win. And, traditional unions haven't had that many wins lately, and I think a lot of the Starbucks workers are also showing that. This is not to dump on unions or the importance of them, especially that infrastructure. Being able to tap into that is so huge because obviously we'll see what comes next with ALU. But anyway, that's just, it was a different approach. I wanted to just go into like what they're demanding. So y'all, they're demanding paid sick leave, not just PTO, because apparently now when you get sick, they have to dip into your PTO. They want more than a 15-minute break that was cut from 20 minutes, a raise in wages, obviously, and like actual Amazon transportation to take people to and from work. The way like Google has like the Google bus and all that, which I find annoying as hell, but it's like, at least it's free for those people. And, you don't have to, whatever, spend money on gas. But it's kind of ironic because one of the things that happened was that let's see. One of the things that happened was actually that these organizers were at bus stops, public bus stops, and that's partly how they got to organize some of the workers, because workers would use the bus every single day, and so they would be there and just kind of, like talk to them. Whereas I don't know if you heard about what happened in Alabama and Bessemer. It was like Amazon changing the timing of lights so that people wouldn't even be able to stop for 30 seconds so that a worker or a union organizer could come in and talk to them and like, while they were in their car, just like all kinds of, it's just really interesting to see that like in a city where you've got a lot of foot traffic and like public transportation, it was easier to organize because people are already kind of like close knit, but Katrina,
in
any
a
thoughts?
city, I feel like you have less control over, like, once people leave that building, like you said, you're in Gen Pop again. So if you're, depending
Yeah.
on what you're like growing up in the South, like even what you're saying about buses or any kind of transportation, you're either at home or you're at work. And
Right.
there isn't a lot of city buses, like I don't know what Bessemer is like, but there isn't necessarily the same kind of transit that you would see in New York, where you have all these other places to kind of converse with each other. There's like no in between.
Right.
So unless you
No,
like
that's
get each other's number or something, yeah, I don't know where they would have had the time to kind of like make each other feel, because I feel like I would be the safest people I can see just wanting to put their head down
yeah,
and thinking
totally.
about the potential consequences of actually even considering a union, or like you were saying, wearing a t-shirt. Like they can be like, these little young boys can do whatever they want, but I got 3 kids, and be like, I can support you all day, but I'm not putting anything in jeopardy, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And it's a really hard barrier to get across. And I think that, there's nothing, all my union organizer friends are always saying the same thing, which is like, there's nothing more galvanizing than a victory. And like having
yes.
this kind of win, it's like, it always seems impossible until it happens. And so it always seems like, yeah, these just, it's going to be expensive or too much work or the
Yep.
dues. And then it just happens. And it's like, oh shit, this
Yep.
is incredible. And I did want to say, the media is focusing on him. Amazon was focusing on him, but Chris Smalls, when you watch him and you hear his responses to some of the questions he's pointedly asked, like, so what do workers want? What's the next thing?
He
He's
has
like,
answers.
look, no, he's like, look, that's for the union to decide. We have a union now. Like, I don't drive this. It is a democratic process. we vote just like we just
Oh,
voted
after
to
the
form.
win, they were like, "What's next?" And you were like, "We are all going to do this together."
Exactly. He was like,
Mhm.
he was saying some very concrete things, but others it was just like, that's for us to decide. The point
Now
is,
that we've won, we'll see.
exactly. And I think that's really important because we love to put all this, shine on one person
Yep.
and then watch them fall or watch them mess up,
Exactly. For him to
right?
immediately be like, "This isn't about me. This is a collective thing for everyone."
Exactly.
Well, everything he was saying about the community and being like, "These are the people in their building. You know people that work here." Like, even the things that I was reading about the reason that non-employees care, it's because their sister can't take a bathroom break, or their sister-in-law, or people in their family that, like, at some point you want them to be able to have a job you think they are treated fairly at. And so,
Yes. Or they're peeing in bottles as they're trying to like rush to deliver everything. Like that peeing in bottles story with Amazon, that just came and went. It was like, I mean, it's obviously still a problem, but Amazon hasn't addressed that. They haven't been like, oh, okay, we're changing. I mean, look, we're slowing it down. It's 3-day prime so people can pee. It's like, no. They just denied it. And we're like, we
right.
try to provide. In fact, here's their statement from the Union Drive, successful Union Drive. They said,
Disappointed.
we're so disappointed. We're not mad,
With
we're
the
just
outcome.
disappointed. They're like a stern parent. We're disappointed with the outcome of the election in Staten Island because we believe having a direct relationship with the company is best for our employees. Where we directly bark orders at them and tell them,
As individuals, so they feel completely intimidated.
yes. We're evaluating our options. This is rich, including filing objections based on the inappropriate and undue influence by the NLRB, so the National Labor Relations Board, which is like, in what world has the NLRB ever been like a crazy politicized entity?
Well, and like you said, the idea that this parental, like, you're being influenced, like, these are adults that got a job at your warehouse and now you're acting like they don't have the competency to not be immediately swayed.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're aware of whether or not they like their working conditions or not.
No, it's totally a way, like you're
That's
saying, it's
like,
to infantilize people.
that's what like an abusive boyfriend would do if your friends tried to take you out. Like, you're in between, so they want to be your direct line of communication
Yes.
because you have stronger units being like, you know what? That's messed up. Like,
Yeah, I mean, look, we've all know the Scientology ploy. You just separate. These are the thetans. You separate people from, the thetans in their lives, the bad influences, i.e., the people trying to help them,
well, and
therapists.
best for who? When they said it's best for our employees, how is that the best for them? What is so much better? Like, they're acting like a union is this middleman that wouldn't have their best interest at heart. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. And it's funny because they can't even say like big union fat cats because again, this is like a grassroots new union. Like this is not an established union. So like even that BS line of attack doesn't even hold water. So I'm super curious, and we talked about when NATO gets back on the show, I'm excited for his thoughts too. Meanwhile, Amazon employs 1 million people in this country, 1 million, and they, unlike other multinational corporations, they can't ship jobs abroad because their entire model is based on having warehouses locally to be able to get you your
get
goods
stuff that
ASAP,
fast.
right?
Uh-huh.
And so they have to deal with the American workforce whether they like it or not. Of course they hate it. And I'm sure they're like, oh, as soon as we can get these guys into robots, they're just like they're taking their money and instead of like giving people a raise, they're just investing in AI. Like I'm sure of it. But all to say, this is going to have ripple effects. I'm excited to see what happens, not just in Bessemer, but throughout, Amazon warehouses. Again, 1 million people employed, whether it's a driver, warehouse worker, whether it's even someone who works in corporate, right? They've been quashing efforts in corporate as well to do minor things like reduce the amount of packaging that Amazon sends out. So, no, the clock is ticking on you, Sir Bezos, even though I know in the time we talked about this story, you got probably $1 billion richer. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuationroom. Do it.